Hello and welcome to episode 24 of the LUFC Fan Zone podcast. I'm Sam Isles.
And I'm Jack Ellis.
And each episode we'll be talking to an ex-Leeds United player or manager about their time at the club. Last episode with Javier Fleury, Illan Meslier's agent, and on the show Javier spoke about life as a football agent and Meslier's career so far, as well as an insight into Illan's future. And I don't know about you, Jack, but for me it was refreshing to hear Javier speak on the show about Meslier, because for him it seemed as if it wasn't about money for either himself or Illan, which can't be said about most modern day football agents.
Yeah, he had Illan's best interests at heart. You could hear that from him. Obviously, it's a big thing, and he kept mentioning it was game time for Illan. And I think, which he is right in saying, in my opinion, that game time is make or break with a keeper. The more game time they play, the more experienced. So if you get a keeper who's been out on loan at a few clubs, as opposed to Illan, who might be 2-3 years younger, and he's had years in the Premier League, you're going to say, even though he's a younger keeper, he's a more experienced keeper. So, yeah, I think he was bang on in that respect.
Yeah, definitely. And that was a key point for him that he mentioned throughout the show, wasn't it? Meslier wanting to be a number one goalkeeper at any club, and thankfully it's at Leeds. And another thing which was great to hear was the fact that Javier believed that Meslier would be at Leeds for many years to come. Javier believed that for Illan, it was more important and more valuable to him to become successful and to win trophies at a club like Leeds, where anything like that success would be seen as a huge achievement. Whereas if he was to move on to a club like he said, Real Madrid, Juventus or Bayern Munich, they regularly win trophies and regularly have success. So to have that at Leeds, which was his ambition, would be seen as a far greater achievement.
That was a standout quote from the episode, in my opinion. I think, use the word beautiful. It'd be more beautiful to win a title or a league with Leeds, which I think is bang on. Obviously, Real Madrid and Bayern are big clubs, and their expectations are to compete in Champions Leagues. And if Illan stays at Leeds for an amount of time, where in an ideal world where we are challenging for the Champions League, then yeah, that would be fantastic. And I think even his agent said as well, I think he's got a massive future ahead of him. And I think the longer we keep him at Leeds, the better. Yeah,
definitely. And if you haven't had the chance to listen to that previous episode with Javier Fleury, who of course is Illan Meslier's agent, or if you've missed any of our other shows, they're all available on Spotify, YouTube and Apple Podcasts simply by searching the LUFC Fan Zone podcast. Just before we go into today's show, today's episode is sponsored by the Mystery Football Kit Co.
So the guys over at Mystery Football Kit Co have reached out to us and happily agreed to sponsor the podcast and support us as a small business ourselves. They are Leeds fans, and what they are offering is a Mystery Football Kit Box. And if you're not sure what a Mystery Football Kit Box is, it's the opportunity to get your hands on a shirt you might not have got before. It's from any team, from any time, including this season as well, all over the globe.
All you have to do is select your size on their website, as well as any kits or colours you don't want to feature in your mystery box. So obviously you'll be selecting no red kits in that category straight away. And your very own mystery shirt will arrive on your doorstep, and you won't know what kit you've received until you open up.
All of their shirts are handpicked to each order, and every item is of high quality, and I must emphasise as well, genuine, brand new football shirt from either this year or any previous year from any club around the world.
And because of our partnership, as well as the fact that we like to look out for our listeners, if you enter the code LUFC FanZone at checkout, you'll receive 10% off your order. So make sure you head over to Mystery Football Kit Co on Instagram or www.mysteryfootballkitco.com to check them out, and make sure you add the discount code LUFC FanZone at checkout. But on to today's episode, and for the second show in a row with another current football agent. However, today's guest is more well known for his huge success as a player as opposed to being an agent. After winning Champions League trophies at both Porto and Barcelona, an FA Cup with Chelsea, and coming runner-up in the Ballon d'Or 2004, he hung his boots up in 2013 and pursued a career in the football agency world. After founding the D20 Sports Agency, he now manages over 20 players, including Leeds United's most recent signing, Raphinha. This week, we're delighted to be joined by former Porto, Barcelona and Chelsea midfielder and the founder of D20 Sports Agency, Deco. Deco, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi guys, you're welcome.
obviously, you had a fantastic career as a player, winning the Champions League with both Porto and Barcelona, and winning the UEFA Football of the Year in 2004, and winning both the Premier League and the FA Cup at Chelsea in 2010. However, today we're planning to speak to you as your life as an agent. So, just firstly, you retired from football in 2013, and after your retirement, you founded the D20 Sports Agency. How long after your retirement was the D20 Sports Agency founded, and what made you want to become a football agent?
First thing is, I know, if you don't know, I was very too young when I came to Portugal. I was 18 years old. And I remember the difficulty was, became to Europe, a young player trying to get my dream to become a good footballer. And, all these experiences made me, think about to be Asian, this transition to Europe from Brazilian players is difficult, when they are young, like Raphinha, for example, when he arrives in Portugal, in Guimarães. That's why I believe that this made me, think about this kind of business. No, I don't want to be a coach. I like this kind of management about players and the clubs. That's why my choice was that.
And we've seen it quite a lot with footballers of the modern era, and especially here in the UK with Steven Gerrard, Wayne Rooney, and of course your former teammate Frank Lampard, that when players retire, and especially players like yourself who played at the very top level, they become head coaches and managers. And although you said that you didn't want to do it, at any point in your career, was there ever an option you wanted to go down, or did you always have your eyes on being a football agent?
In my case, I like I said, I like management, and I had opportunities to work in clubs, and but I started to work with Fabinho. Was the first player that we worked. Then when we brought him from Paulínia, a small club in Brazil. We put him in Fluminense. After that, he moves to Portugal, and after he's played very well in Liverpool. And I start to do it, and I like it. I enjoy doing that. I think for my life, for my style, for my family is different. I can adapt. It's hard because you need to work a lot, you need to travel. But at the end, I believe that I have something to help the young players. I have something that I believe that I can help them to get a good career, to reach your dreams. I can explain why I decide, but it's something that I start to do it, and I like it.
Yeah, and 7 years on from your retirement now, D20 Sports now has 23 clients, and all of which are players, most of which from Brazilian or Portuguese descent. But as an agency, how do you attract clients to D20 Sports, and what characteristics do you personally look for in a player before you choose to represent them?
I think the important thing, in my opinion, is believe in the player. If you don't believe in him, it's impossible to work for him, First thing, you need to see the player and believe that his potential, believe that his character, and believe that you can do something for him. Of course, I always say to the players that the more important thing is what they can do in the field, and the training, and how much they want to put every day to work hard. And this is and we can help them behind, but the important job, and they need to do it on every day, not just on the games, but every day. But for us, I need to believe. I need to believe in everything, not just about players, like okay, if they are good or not, but if they are good person, if they really want to make something different.
And one of your most valuable players at D20 Sports is, of course, like you've mentioned, Leeds United new signing Raphinha. Am I right in saying that you first became aware of Raphinha and first started working with him in 2016 when he was at Avaí and was playing in the Copa Sao Paulo, which was one of Brazil's most heavily scouted youth tournaments?
Yeah. Raphinha, the first thing I saw him, this is the question, His capacity to work on the like a winger, but just to attack, to defend. And this was something that he had always, even when he was 17, when I saw him the first time. And that's why I saw different things in him. This kind of dribbling, skills like a Brazilian player, but at the same time, his capacity to work hard for the team. This is something that he always had, and since the beginning, when he was in Havaí, when he moved to Portugal, he kept doing the same. And this is something that I believe is, of course, he's a very good player. He attacks, he scores goals, but for me, is something that he gives everything for the team. This is important for the player today.
And in that tournament in Sao Paulo, like you said, he was still only 17. And although Raphinha himself hasn't really spoke much about his childhood and his life at that age, he has spoke about a foundation that he set up to help people from his neighbourhood, something which he created to help people in that area where he grew up to have a better life. But how much do you know about the area that Raphinha grew up in and Raphinha at that age? Because it seems like he was surrounded by quite a lot of drugs and violence, which might have made it harder for him to pursue his dream of being a professional footballer.
I know a little bit because I have some friends grow up there too, and they became players like Achinga. He's a famous player in Brazil. He plays in Internacional, in Brazilian national team too. And this is something that Raphinha, he was difficult for him for sure, because not easy to get out of all these kind of problems, But I believe that the key and then the Raphinha is his family. His families, they are very good family. His fathers, his mom, his father, and they are very strong unity. And I believe that was important for him. And of course, he always want to win. He knows. And Raphinha, if you see when he was young, he played in like 3 or 4 teams, and they don't give opportunity for him, and he's doing every time, he's trying again. And I believe this is something that his family gives to him now, and his structural familiar, and I believe this was very important for him.
And after that youth tournament in São Paulo, you helped Raphinha move to Portugal, first with Vitória and then to Sporting Lisbon in 2018. How much of an influence did you have on them transfers and advising Raphinha to move to Portugal? Because it was the same path that you took as a player moving from Brazil to a big team in Portugal. Obviously for you it was Benfica and Porto, but for Raphinha it was Sporting.
I will say to Raphinha, and of course for all the players that we try to work, but some players, they listen us, the other players, they don't listen. That's something normal, no? And that the career is step by step. You can reach the sky if you don't grow up every day, and step by step. You need to do very well in the clubs. And for example, Raphinha he did very well in Guimarães. After he moved to Sporting, he started again, new team, new club, and new teammates, and he adapted very well, and he started to play well. And when he moved to Rennes in France, was the same. And now he leads. I believe this is Raphinha. His capacity to adapt is amazing. If you speak with the teammates, he's a guy that everyone likes him, and he's a very good kid. And he wants to play. He likes to play. If you see, he's enjoying when he was on the pitch. At the same time, he has this kind of responsibility on the game by the team, but at the same time, he's enjoying. This is very important for him.
And after just 1 year at Sporting, like you said, Raphinha moved to France and to Rennes for a reported fee of €21 million, which made him Rennes' record signing. But I know you just touched on it before, but more specifically, how did Raphinha feel about his switch to Rennes, especially of the weight of being a record signing, his extra weight on his shoulders, and obviously entering a new country as well? And also, when he was at Sporting, he said that he was happy to stay at Sporting and had no reason to leave.
I don't know. Sometimes in football you don't understand what the coach thinks or the club thinks. I think Raphinha was doing very well, and when they decide to transfer him, I believe it was very good opportunity for all the clubs. And Leeds, they did a very good job to reach Raphinha earlier than the other clubs, in my opinion. And I'm sure that this movement was very good for Raphinha. Of course, Rennes is a good club. Leeds is a historical club too, and he's playing Premier League. It's the best league at this moment in the world. And his football for me is style, Premier League style, and that's why I believe this movement was very good for his career.
In the greatest of respects to Rennes and the French League One, when Raphinha moved to France from Sporting, who were obviously a huge side and a very successful league, he moved to the French League where the quality might have been a step down from the Portuguese league, and especially Sporting Lisbon. And the season before he joined, Rennes finished 10th, which was quite a poor season for them. And because of that, realistically, did you and Raphinha see that move as a way for him to play and showcase his talent in France with the aim to get a bigger transfer to, like you said, a big league like the Premier League?
At that time, Sporting had a lot of problems, financial problems, and they had 3 or 4 players maximum to sell. And I believe that time the decision wasn't technical decision, was a financial decision. And there was 3 or 4 clubs that for Raphinha to choice. Of course, Rennes was a club that for the French football is similar like a Premier League football. And we had some options to Italy, for example, and that my opinion to Raphinha was move to France because for his football, my opinion, he was up better than Italy, for example. And that's why this movement wasn't our decision, Sports, they need money that time. And we broke the 2 or 3 offers, and of course Raphinha decided, but Sporting made the movement first,
Yeah, and he became one of Rennes' most important players. And as a result, Leeds became interested in signing him at the start of this season following their promotion to the Premier League. When were you first aware of Leeds' interest? Because to fans, it seemed as if, at first Rennes didn't want to sell Raphinha, and then later on in the transfer window, he became available and Leeds jumped at that opportunity.
So, I don't know why, but I remember that at the beginning they don't want to sell Raphinha. They want to wait for minimum 1 year more. And when I spoke with the club 1 week to close the window, close transfer window, they say to me that maybe they could think about this movement for Raphinha. I start to work. I spoke with Leeds because I knew that Vitor Horta likes him very well. And Vitor called me and said, okay, maybe it's possible or not. We see. And was too fast. But like I said, football is sometimes kind of opportunities, no? And I believe Leeds, they made a good decision. And he's adapted very well. He's happy there. And I believe for Leeds, was a good movement too.
Yeah, absolutely. He's arguably been one of our best players this season. But because of his successful season at Rennes, were there any other clubs interested in signing Raphinha at that point, as well as Leeds?
There was 2 or 3 clubs, Italian clubs, and but like I said, Premier League it's the best league at this moment. Raphinha, he wants to play in the high level. Of course, his decision was Leeds because of that.
Obviously, at the time, although Leeds, like you said, are in the Premier League, Rennes qualified for the Champions League, which is obviously something which Leeds couldn't offer. So was that ever a factor of why Raphinha might have wanted to stay as opposed to leave France?
No, like I say, we don't know we don't know. We are not sure why the band decided to sell Raphinha, because this is a question for them, it's not for Raphinha. And Leeds was the Leeds, the decision to come to Leeds was because it's a historical club. Of course, the coach was important for his decision too, because he's a very good coach. He knows that he could learn a lot of the coach. And in football, sometimes it's important when someone really wants you, know. And Leeds, they showed how much they want Raphinha. That's why it was important for him. Was happy there. He saw the people when Victor and the president, they call him and they want him, you know. And this is important for the players too. When the people show, or the club shows how much they really want you. And what I believe that was what Leeds did, and that's why they convinced Raphinha to come.
And at some points during that final day of the transfer window, which was the day that Raphinha moved to Leeds, the transfer went really close to the transfer deadline, and it was confirmed less than an hour before the cut-off point. Was there any reason as to why it took so long to complete? Because to fans, it caused some panic as to something might have gone wrong, or there might have been a little glitch in the deal.
No, it was legal problems, the lawyers, and of course the last day. It's not easier to bring all the transfers, the documents, and this is something that is a little bit complicated. But at the end, everything happens, and of course we were a little bit anxious too. But we knew that the deal was closed. It's just some kind of points that the clubs need to finalize.
And I know you touched on Marcelo before, but how much exactly did Bielsa affect the transfer? Because we spoke to Helu Rodriguez, who's the agent of Diego Llorente, and they've said that Bielsa has personally contacted them to show how he would coach the players. Did you ever have that contact with Bielsa at all?
No, I don't. You don't need to talk up with the coach, because you know Bielsa is Bielsa, no? Everyone knows him. And I believe that when we speak about Bielsa, we know how good he is, and because he wants to play football. His team likes to play, and they play football, they want to attack. And of course, for a player like Raphinha, it's fantastic, for strikers, for wingers, it's amazing. Had one coach like Bielsa, and everyone knows that when he likes the players, he gives confidence in the players. They can play on his level, not on the high level.
The price for Raphinha from Rennes to Leeds was reported at 17 million or 20 million euros, whichever you want to look at it, which is less than what Rennes paid for Raphinha just a year before. And I know it's between Leeds and Rennes to decide the fee, and it isn't your responsibility as such. However, why do you personally think Rennes let Raphinha leave for such a low price? And especially, he was one of their standout players during the season when he was there.
Look, like I said, I don't know why. I don't believe was because if you know, Rennes, they changed the sport director. They changed last year. Not the coach, but the sport director, the president bringing Raphinha, he wasn't there. I don't know if it was a financial decision, it was a technical decision, but at the end, more important is the future. And Raphinha is now elite, he's playing well, he's enjoying, and maybe when they look Raphinha now playing, maybe they made a mistake, I don't know, but the important thing is to look in front, not to look the future, and this is more important.
Yeah, and like you said, so far this season, Raphinha has been outstanding for Leeds, and he's already one of our key players. But did you expect him to have this sort of impact in English football and in Leeds? Because, like you know from making the switch to a different country to the Premier League yourself, the Premier League is quite a different league to many other European leagues.
I believe that I always think that Raphinha, he's growing up, okay? Because he's his age now, he became every year, every day, better player than before. And of course, not easy to come to another country to adapt. It's another league, but, I think that the team is good. The teammates are good. And, I believe that he's happy playing Leeds. This is the first thing to adapt, when the people, the teammates receive you very well, and, you feel like a family in the dressing room, and, the coach helps you. This is something that, make more easier you adapt or not. And I believe that he found this in Leeds. He found this in this club, and that's why he's, in my opinion, is for sure one of the things that is making Raphinha playing well. And if you see in the pitch, he's happy. If you see him, on the game with his teammates, this is important. And that's why I believe this was key for him to adapt, in my opinion.
And on the topic of yourself, Deco, you played in England between 2008 and 2010 at Chelsea, a team which are one of Leeds' biggest rivals. And although Leeds and Chelsea were in different leagues at that time, meaning that you didn't get the chance to play against Leeds, during your time at Chelsea, did you learn anything about Leeds which may have meant that you knew that they were a good fit for Raphinha, if that makes sense?
I always knew Leeds, because of the players and, the history of a lot of good players, and, it's a historical club. And, when Raphinha, because it's different time. My time was 2010. Now Raphinha, his movement was 1 year ago, and it's almost 10 years after. And, these last 10 years, the Premier League improved a lot. Leeds was the second division, became for the first division. But at the end, Leeds is still being, a fantastic club, a historical club. And, I don't know, for Raphinha, my experience was different because I was in Chelsea that time. And of course, my experience helped me to give some advice for him, but it was different time.
And because of his amazing start to the season, his fantastic performances in the Premier League, there are already reports that other clubs, some at the very top of the Premier League, might be looking to sign Raphinha at the end of the season. And Raphinha spent just 1 year at Sporting Lisbon and 1 season at his previous club, Rennes. However, do you think that he'll spend more than 1 year at Leeds? Or do you think there's a possibility that if his performances continue to be as good as they are, that he might have to move on?
Like I said, we never know. But, it's not time to think about that. It's time to play football. I believe this team can reach something important this season. And, I think, I'm sure that Raphinha, he only think about that. I know that it's normal that there's a lot of speculation about transfer and everything, but I believe that there's a time for that, This is not the time. The time is work. The time is to play. Raphinha is happy. Leeds. We never know, but I think it's too early to talk about that. First thing we need to finish this league the best qualification possible, and, I believe that Raphinha is enjoying. This is more important. Sometimes you need to make another movement. It's not, of course, it's a club decision first. Always you need to respect the club. And, but at this moment, Raphinha, and for our side, we don't think about that. Of course, football is too fast. Something, the clubs, we know that, of course, when you are playing very well in the Premier League, there are other clubs, they are interested on him, of course, but it's not my, if I can speak for Raphinha too. He's enjoying Leeds. Of course, maybe one day, but for now, our focus is just to play, still enjoying the club.
As always, in this second section of the show, we put forward 4 questions to our guest, which have been submitted by some of our LUFC Fans on Instagram followers. To have a chance of featuring, simply head over to our LUFC Fans on Instagram page and look out for our guest announcement, where the best 4 questions in the comment section of that post will feature in this section of the show.
This week's first question comes from Dara, who asks, when you were a player, would you like to play in a team coached by Marcelo Bielsa? And if so, why?
I would like, because I think that he's a very good coach, a lot of experience. When you see his team, all the teams play football. They like to play football. They enjoy playing football. This is important. And especially for me, I used to play football. I was to play like a midfielder. And it would be amazing to play with Bielsa because the game never stopped. You always try to win. And this would be a good experience if my time's passed. And of course, if I had the opportunity, would be nice.
This week's second question comes from Jake, who asks, you played alongside some extremely talented players during your career. However, which of your former teammates reminds you most of Raphinha and why?
In my opinion, Raphinha, I never play. I play against him many times, against Di Maria, for example, not with him. For me, is the player that I always liked him. And Raphinha has the same style, in my opinion. A little bit more goals than Di Maria. But I like Di Maria. That's why Raphinha is, in my opinion, is the same style, left foot, 1-against-1, and this kind of players I always enjoy.
Next up is Patrick, who asks, although Raphinha's transfer fees and prices aren't influenced by you, what would be your valuation of Raphinha in the current transfer market?
I don't know. My opinion, I believe Leeds made a very good movement. At that time, I never imagined that Rennes could sell Raphinha for less than money that they paid. But my opinion is his valuation is increasing. Of course, when you are playing football, we know the transfers today, and of course we are at this moment with COVID. The market will go down a little bit, but the good players, his valuation always increase. I can't say how much, but I believe that Raphinha, his valuation is much more than what Leeds paid, for sure.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that one. And this week's final question comes from Reese, who asks, Raphinha is still only 24 years old and has many years ahead of him in his career. Because of that, how big a potential do you think Raphinha has?
That's why I was saying to you guys, I believe that step by step. And for Raphinha, it's amazing playing Leeds. It's amazing learning with Bielsa. It's been amazing that this team still play football very well. That's why I told you it needs to be step by step. His potential, it will increase if he play football, if he learns, and that's why he's young. I think so. He's young, but the more important thing is football. And when you enjoy football, when you start, learn, try to learn for the teammates, try to learn for the coach, and he's a good club. The Leeds is a very good club for him. It's very important to grow up, to put everything on the pitch. And I don't know. I believe that he has a lot of potential. We are seeing that, and I hope that he keep enjoying play football. And for you fans, stay a little bit more for enjoying Leeds.
Yeah. Definitely for longer than this year, please. and that ends today's episode. Thank you to everyone for sending their questions, and thank you so much for your time, Deco. It's been great having you on the show.
Okay, thank you guys.
We'll be back next week with another guest. Stay tuned for the post over on our LUFC Fanzone Instagram later in the week. Thanks for listening.